Hey guys, it's Erin with Hand Stamp Style, and I am going to show you how I detailed this little purse die in this video. And it really is super simple. It does take, depending on how anal retentive you are, it takes a little practice to kind of perfect this technique. I am not an artist by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't really focus on so much of, you know, where your light technically is supposed to be coming from and all that good stuff. When you're doing a shading coloring like this, typically true artists will darken certain areas of the flower, in this case, depending on where the light would be coming from. So say, for instance, in this flower, if you would say the light was coming from this direction, you would lighten these petals and darken them towards the inside, and then darken the ones on the outer rim, which are down here. However, I don't really, I just do what's pleasing to my eye. So some of the petals I darken, some of them I don't. It really is an easy way to kind of get the same effect, more or less. Unless you're really technical, and in that case you probably should look at my project while I go like this. So anyway, I'm going to show you how kind of a dumbed down version of this technique. And what we're going to use is our Reasons to Smile stamp set that hopefully you have gotten. This month you have a few days left, so if you haven't already gotten it, what I'm going to do is we're going to start off, in the example I used Melon Mambo ink. And all I'm going to do, and these are the new ink pads, love, love, love them. I'm going to do a little comparison video for you guys a little bit further down the road. But so I started with Melon Mambo ink, and I just want to make sure that I got plenty of ink. It's kind of hard to tell on these red rubber stamps, and I don't want to push too hard. Let me just do a test. Oh, yep, okay. So all I did was ink it up and stamp them down. You know what? That's going to dry before I have the chance to show you. Let me back up for a second. When I started this is just a scrap piece, but obviously you're going to die cut your shape out. And I go ahead and slightly fold on the creases. And this is the Petite Purse die. And then before you put it together, we're going to decorate it. So you'll want to die cut this out first. I did not bother including the little handle because I used ribbon for mine. So you'll definitely want to die cut this out first. And then this is actually what we would be stamping on. So again, I'm going to put ink onto my Whisper White cardstock like so. And the first thing you're going to want to do while it's still kind of wet is take your blender pen and just over the entire image. Now, of course, I wouldn't go outside the lines if I was doing this directly on my purse. The one I did in the middle here for my little purse closure, I did like this because I knew I was going to cut it out. So if you're not going to cut it out, let me show you how that would look. So I'm going to stamp it, and all I'm going to do is kind of pull a little bit of the colors from the sides in, and I'm not really doing the entire, I'm just pulling a little in from each one of the petals. And you do have to move kind of quick because as this ink dries onto the Whisper White cardstock, you won't be able to pull in as much. So here's the thing, if you don't move quick enough, it's really not a problem. See how some of this is starting to dry? I don't have as much color as I do on the other side. It's not a problem. If it dries, you just go back in and add some more color. Okay. And then on the inside, you can just kind of real messy. Like that. Okay? So that's the first step. Now, in order to get kind of the shading, all I did, and again, this is the new ink pads. If you were doing this with an old ink pad, you would, and I don't do this with my new ones, I might, but I haven't yet, you would close it like this, squish these together, and then open it and you would have some on the lid for the old ink pads. Again, I haven't tried this with the new ones yet, and I don't know how that affects the pad, so if I don't know that I would do that with my new ones just yet. But with the new ones, what I do is I just use the ink directly from the pad, and so I just take the ink and it gives it to you slightly darker, and I just go in and kind of add it where I want it. Again, there really is no rhyme or reason where I'm adding color. I just kind of do what I think looks good. And I know that's not the right way for all you, artistes out there, but I am not an artist. So I am what I like to call creative. So that's basically the gist of that particular flower. And I'll zoom in here a little bit and you can kind of see how that looks. It's just kind of hit or miss here, there, and everywhere. I'll show you again on this one. You just kind of move it around where you want it. And the ink on the blender pen lasts for, a good while. So you don't have to keep adding more ink to your blender pen. With these new ink pads, really, there's a lot of ink on them. So be sure that, you might want to test this out on your scratch paper to make, to kind of get an idea of how hard you need to push on your ink pad before you start going at it with your flower. Again, you can always do it over if you don't like the way it looks. I don't really think there's a wrong way you could do this, but I've learned to really relax over the years with my stamping. So if you're not quite there yet, I totally understand. I used to be that way. And you basically have the idea of what I'm doing. I hope that was in shot. I'm sorry if that wasn't. But you basically have the idea of what I'm doing. Now, what I would do, let me take off some of this ink. What I would do after that is kind of come in and just pull, if you can, and you have to be kind of careful because with this Whisper White cardstock, if you get it wet too much, it'll start to pill up, bead up, and you'll start to kind of rip the fibers. But I like to kind of, sometimes on some of the flowers, kind of blur that line between the solid color. Sorry, I'm like thinking and talking. Between the solid color and the actual faded color. And that's basically it as far as the technique goes. Now, of course, you can see that on the flower, let me zoom this out a little bit. You can see on the flower, or excuse me, on the purse, let me look back here, I did the leaves, the petals, and the inside with that technique. And then I just took my Lucky Limeade marker and I just colored in the centers. Let's see if you can see that. And then I did, of course, some smaller flowers too. Again, the same technique. I just, instead of coloring the outer edges of the flower, I just pulled the ink from the inside where there was already kind of some, when you stamp it, it has that image, the lines in it. And I did some of the half bud, or whatever you want to call them, images too. And then once I had everything stamped and colored, I just took my basic gray marker and I just went around, not even the whole thing, just kind of mock shaded it. Again, I'm not paying attention to where the light should be coming from and where blah, 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 whatever. I don't, of course, I'm not that kind of stamper. But so I just kind of, as like a shadow accent, effect. And that's basically it. Now once I finished all of those flowers, I put together the box, and it's really simple. You put some sticky strip here and some sticky strip here, and you fold it together like so basically. Oops. Well, that one goes on the inside, but the little tiny flaps go on the inside. And that's, if I had some adhesive, that's what it would look like. And then this just curves down and flies right into that little slit. And so I put the box together, or the purse together. Let me widen the screenshot for you. Colored it, shaded it, put the box together, added with glue dots just some ribbon. The only thing I would do differently probably is, instead of putting the ribbon on the inside of the purse like I did, I would attach it to the top. Okay, that way when you open it, you don't have this issue of feeding it through the purse. Now, to show you how I created the center flower, it's really basically the same thing. I did 2 flowers, and then I went in on the top one and I cut out all the, I know, like, if you're gonna do this, good luck to you. It really isn't hard, but it's time consuming. So if you don't want to do this, maybe just do 1 flower. You could even use the, if you colored it like this instead of like this, meaning going over the edges, you could even do it as easy as punching it out with a circle punch, and it would be even easier for you. But what I did is I went through and I cut away all the leaves that were behind what I considered to be the main ones, the ones that were full popped out leaves. And then I cut this one out completely, and I layered the partial cut leaves on top to get this effect, to get that look. And then I just used, let's see, I used 1-dimensional in between these 2 layers here, and 1-dimensional in between these 2 layers here. And of course I did a 3rd flower, but I only colored in the center, the smallest little bud right there. I don't know if you guys can see that from far away. Basically the darkest one in this example here is the one I cut out. And I did that one in green. And then I just attached directly with a glue dot onto the top a little dahlia, in color dahlia, right into the center. And of course, like with everything else, I took some of my, where are they at? Tinted Dazzling Details, and embellished them a little bit. I don't know if you can see how they kind of glitter. And all I did, I'll just show you really quickly, is I didn't even go over the entire thing. I just kind of went over the edges where I had put, oh, is it kind of come out? There you go. Over the edges, and I literally just did it this quick. I mean, I did just bits and pieces of it. I mean, not a lot. A little bit here and there. It looks really cute, and it stiffens up the edges so that you can actually handle it to get the purse open and closed. And I did the same thing with the green. Now, I added all the glitter after I had already adhered everything together. So that way I didn't have to wait for it to dry, and quite honestly, I only put it where you can see it, and I find that to be easier once I actually have it put together. And then I actually added the entire thing to the lid of the purse with just a glue dot, maybe 2 glue dots, and I pushed this down so it would be easier to get into the front of the purse. And now I can't touch the flower because it's got wet glitter on it, but there we go. And basically that's it. It really is easy. I hope you guys give it a try. If not on a 3D object like this, definitely on a card. It's a super easy technique, and you don't have to be perfect at it. You can just do what you feel looks good to you. That's what it's all about anyway. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for taking the survey and leaving me your remarks. And I will see you guys real soon. Bye.